Doesn't have to worry about going blind, which he almost was against Sasuke, and like all the Biju and stuff.
Would you say that Sage Mode is a bigger?
So look, building a social media marketing agency in 2020 really isn't that difficult. I mean, it comes down to three things. Number one, being able to find clients and set meetings. Number two, being
Amped than Sharingan, like basic. For instance, if you had Naruto with Mangekyo Sharingan versus Naruto with Sage Mode fight each other, you know, who wins?
Yeah, Naruto with the Sage Mode wins.
Right,
Well,
it's
it
debatable.
Depends on how, like, the Mangekyo amps his base, and like...
It's debatable, right? It's debatable.
Yeah.
So, I think with that in mind, you kind of get this idea that Madara, while blind with Sage Mode, is kind of just like fucking up all the tailed beasts or whatever he's getting. Like, he's kind of fighting all of them. And then when he gets one Renegon, he just one-shots all of them.
Yeah.
Maybe you could say make the same comparison with Itachi, where with his Renegon, he could like at least one-shot himself or something.
We can definitely say he's stronger than the Akatsuki, right?
Yes.
Even with all his fucking like sickness, stamina issues. The only person who might still give him trouble is Obito, because like he'd have to last for a really, really long time.
Yeah, Obito's stamina is just too crazy.
Yeah, we talked about that in the Shikamaru Lee video, actually.
Yeah. Which you should check out.
Check it out. It's pretty
pretty good.
Pretty stellar video.
Yeah, pretty epic.
Well, so the other thing about
because Obito
Itachi is he has no stamina issues. Edo Itachi is like one of the only characters who gets like a buff from being Edo. It's weird.
Yeah. Like
he can just spam MS abilities, you know, doesn't have to worry about going blind, which he almost was against Sasuke.
Right.
I guess that's one thing he would be able to. Because like when Madara got the Rinnegan, like his like Izanagi just like reversed. So I think his eyes would at least be fixed.
So he'd get fixed eyes. Are we saying that he can spam Izanami?
No, I don't think he could do that, because I think you lose your Rinnegan if you do Izanagi. But man, fucking all these goddamn rules.
Because Madara used it, lost his eye, and then got it back with his Rinnegan. And then
he never did it again.
And then Hagoromo apparently spammed it over and over again to make like tailed beasts and shit.
I think so. I don't know if that was Izanagi. I think Izanagi is like basically like a bastardization of that jutsu. It's like a weird.
So you think it's like a derivative of that jutsu?
Yeah. Like Hagoromo is using creation of all things, which is like the shit that Naruto used to give Kakashi his eye back and like fix Guy. Whereas Izanagi is like tapping into that. Like you don't have to have 6 paths, but it just takes away your eye. So I don't know. If that is what he was using,
even then, maybe it was just a Hagoromo special. You know, maybe
that's the thing. Because like I don't think Zetsu would have caught Madara lacking if he could just
he could just use it. Yeah, you think Madara?
Like, that would have been very funny if he was just like, oh yeah, you think
Madara of all people, after gaining his eyesight back from the ability, would have thought of that. You know?
Yeah.
Like us as viewers are thinking about it. Why wouldn't he? Mr. IQ over 200, probably Ninja Man.
Maybe Zetsu like immobilized him and stopped him from using any abilities, because like he was able to do that with like Obito.
Even then, no, because even then Obito could kind of fight back. So maybe it was like Kaguya was taking over his body, or
I don't know, man. So let's talk about. So what do you want to do? Do you want to move on to like Edo Itachi, or talk about like a live Itachi? Let's say he like fixes a sickness. What do you think is more interesting?
I mean, it's pretty much the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess Edo is just slightly weaker, but like
it's unquantifiable almost.
We'll just say like he gets brought back by Kabuto Edo Tensei, and in addition to the crazy Shisui shit, he's just like, I also had a contingency plan for if anything like this happened, I would immediately awaken the Rinnegan And then he's like, all right, Naruto, I'm gonna go fucking kill Kabuto now, and then he just leaves, right? How strong is this Itachi? He's on his way to kill Kabuto, and then he's gonna go fuck up Madara. Does he succeed? Probably, in the first part at least.
He beats the hell out of Kabuto, that's for sure.
Yeah, Kabuto, like, fucking...
Kabuto was actually scared. He was actually very cautious of fighting just the Rinnegan from one eye.
Yo, he was terrified of Obito. Like, that's the only reason he, like, did that alliance. Well, he approached Obito with the alliance before, but, like, he agreed to a lot of Obito's terms solely because of the Rinnegan. So, like, he was also scared of Itachi, like, regular.
Yep.
So, not nearly as much, because he was still laughing at Itachi, like, I'll beat you up. But, like, he was still scared of Itachi, like, regular.
Yeah.
So then you give Itachi the Rinnegan, and it's like...
Also, there's the epic meme of Kabuto saying, "There's no Uchiha greater than me." Yeah, very funny. But it's just like,
yeah, that's the thing, right? Like I think Itachi would be like Obito's level physically. The thing about Obito is that he's hard carried by his dumb hacks power.
He has a dumb hacks power and a dumb stamina problem too. Like his stamina is like so hard to beat just because of his genes and his arms and shit. So
now, if Itachi's Edo, he doesn't have to worry about this. The main difference between Edo Itachi and alive, not sick Itachi is I think Itachi would still have, like, because in part 1 he had to leave pretty quick.
Well,
after the fight.
Here's something we can talk about. I guess very basic. If Itachi has to fight Obito and all the tailed beasts, he should be able to handle all the tailed beasts extremely easily. Like he could absorb like all their Bijou bombs. He could probably take their chakra.
Wait.
Genjutsu them, perhaps.
Wait. Can Itachi summon the Geromazo?
I mean, yeah, he has a Rinnegan, so.
Well.
Wait, do you need Senju DNA to do that, though?
Well, you need Senju, like, you need Indra Ashura Chakra to awaken the Rinnegan anyway. So that would probably just be a part of the
Remember when they said you
like,
needed that DNA to use, like, Izanagi or something? When was that old debate? That was funny.
Izanami, I also just feel like Itachi was lying. There's no way. They were all going around spamming Izanagi.
So him having the Rinnegan in general probably just means he can summon it, like, inherently, but...
Yeah, so would it just be him and Obito going back and forth? Like, the issue with the Geromazo is, it's currently sealed inside of another dimension, which only Kaguya can access. Sasuke does go in, so maybe he could, like, summon Kaguya now, but I don't think he wants to do that.
Right, yeah. That would be funny.
I think that would be very funny. Obito and Itachi just, like, Kuchiyose no Jutsu.
They keep summoning it back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's mine.
And then Itachi. Would Itachi get to, like, would he have, like, dominance because he has 2 Rinnegan?
Maybe. Like, does it give him more ghetto control?
like Obito tries to summon it and it just crosses his arms. It's like, no.
You're only half good enough.
Like, but okay, so the actual relevant part of this, I do think, like you said, he'd be able to box up the Bijou pretty fast. The main issue is Obito himself. Like, you can't really hit him, like, at all. But I do think he could probably find a way to at least hit Obito, like, one time.
Because he could catch Obito by surprise. I mean, he can literally teleport, almost like Minato can. Not exactly, like, but he can definitely switch places with objects. So, I mean, it can kind of do it.
I mean, effectively, like, so if you put them in the same situation, effectively it would be the same thing. Well, no, never mind. I was going to say, because he could throw the kunai and then would go through Obito, and he'd be able to,
he could switch
places with it, but he wouldn't be able to see it, except, wait, no, just kidding. His crow would look at it, and then Itachi would switch places with it.
Or, he'd have his crows go over.
Yo,
his crows would fly everywhere, and then he'd just, like, catch him with, like, Amaterasu or something, like... Well, granted, Itachi did catch Obito lacking with Sasuke. Remember when he, like, hit him with the Amaterasu, like, in his base after he died? So I don't know. Maybe Itachi's really about it.
There's, like, a theory. I don't know if I agree with it, but the theory is that, like, Obito did that. Like, he let himself get hit by it, like, just to, like, A, flex, be like, yeah, I can just live through like an Amaterasu, and B, like make Sasuke respect Itachi even more by like convincing him that like Itachi almost like killed him afterwards. Again, I don't necessarily agree with it. I felt like bringing it up because I've seen it crop up.
It's a possibility. I mean,
yeah,
it's always interpretation battles, but.
This is what it feels like wearing regular shoes. No all-around support. And this is what it's like wearing Skechers Arch Fit footwear. It's all the comfort and support you need.
Ooh, MILF.
It's good to have support. Try Skechers Arch Fit footwear with podiatrist certified arch support.
But if you are charitable to Itachi and just assume that like, yeah, like base Sasuke was able to hit Obito with a Amaterasu, then like Itachi's like, you know, like Itachi's like teleport Amaterasu might be able to...
Here's the way I see it. I think Itachi versus Obito is interesting, but then you give them both amps, but Itachi's amp is just catastrophically bigger. Like, that's true. It's just way bigger. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so like in my personal kind of fanboy opinion, I'd probably give it to Itachi, but
I don't disagree. The main thing that I'm hung up on is Kamui.
Yeah, no. Of course, it's not going to be the easiest thing. You know, it's still going to be nonsensical. Like, but
Itachi is also really smart. That, you know, like, he's like,
yeah, literally.
So he'd probably figure something out. So let's say he goes through Obito, and then Madara's just sitting there, right? Like, then what happens? Madara whips out the perfect Susanoo, and then I think that's the end.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a live Madara with 2 Renegon without even 6 pads, like Madara's still more powerful, you know, like,
yeah.
I guess you guys are kind of getting the point. Like, Renegon Itachi just can't, he just can't beat the 6 pads characters still. Like, you know, like it still just kind of stops there.
Like, yeah, he's still being gatekept by Madara. Edo Madara might be able to do it. Like, do you think he'd be able, like, because like, yeah, that's Edo Hashirama's like 100 1,000 hand shit might,
yeah,
you know, like might do Itachi in, right? Like it was like the 100 hands from Guru was enough to stop Hiruzen in his tracks and make him go like, fuck,
yeah,
what do we do about this? So like I think that the Hashirama version of that might make Itachi.
Hashirama would give Itachi Renegon kind of a hard time just because, like, hear me out. Both Itachi and Madara are both nerfed by their Edo Tensei. They fight, and by the end of the fight, Hashirama, it actually finds a way to negate the Renegon's abilities with his wood style. And during like the first time Hashirama's ever encountered that ability, he finds a way to negate it. So it's like,
yeah, he has like a weird like chakra suppression properties, which is how he was able to control the Biju.
Yeah, so it's like Renegon Itachi might not be as insanely OP as you think. Like, you know, maybe he'd be able to catch Hashirama off guard with the Totsuka blade or something. Like, you know, like
that is the other thing we do have to, like, if Itachi catches Obito in a Genjutsu, or like any of these people in a Genjutsu, which now at this level would be very hard,
might be impossible for Hashirama.
Yeah, so, like, if he catches any of them in a Genjutsu, like, Obito included, they are just, like, you know, Dunzo spaghetti from the Totsuka blade. They get poked, they lose. Even without Genjutsu, though, the fact that that's, like, a problem here, that's a threat that they have to look out for is pretty bad for them.
Dude, imagine he teleports like Minato with a Susanoo holding the Totsuka blade. Like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, Itachi's giant red perfect Susanoo appears with the Totsuka blade to stab you, like, out of nowhere.
The issue it might be OP. Though, is, like, how long would he be able to keep the Susanoo up? You know, like, because his Renegon would, like, repair his eyes, but I don't know if they would still make the eyes, like, EMS.
The Bachelor is back. Stream it live on ABC with YouTube TV.
Writing's not that easy, but Grammarly can help. This sentence is grammatically
How's it going, everybody? Swag Kage here, and welcome to Itachi vs. Obito, the versus battle of the week. And before you guys jump me for doing another Uchiha battle after I said I was gonna try to avoid those, I really did mean it when I said it. But, well, it seems like a lot of you have been very vocal about the fact that you've grown pretty tired of the Uchiha battles. Another sizable portion of my audience wouldn't leave me alone about doing Itachi vs. Obito. I couldn't escape the numerous, plentiful comments on all of my recent versus videos asking me to do this battle in particular, and so I was like, ah, fuck, I'm in a bit of a pickle, aren't I? So because of the overwhelming popular demand, I'm gonna make an exception here, and look, to those of you who are super anti-Uchiha, I'm sorry, but come on, give me a break. Anyway, as for how I'm gonna be handling this video, so I'm not going to talk about the abilities of both characters as extensively as I have in my previous videos, because I've already discussed Itachi on numerous occasions, and there are way too many different versions of Obito for me to go over all of them here without making the video like an hour long. Now, I will talk about some versions of Obito in more detail than others, as obviously I need some analysis here, right? Like, I can't just be throwing around my opinions with no evidence or facts to support them. But when it comes to the Obito variants that I just think thoroughly thrash Itachi, I don't think there's much of a point in extensively discussing what they're capable of, because I can make my points about how I think Itachi fares against them pretty quickly. On another note, unlike my previous versus battle videos where I started with the earlier incarnations of the characters and progressed to their later forms, I'm gonna be doing the opposite here, where I start with the latest versions of Obito, then compare them to both versions of Itachi, Living and Edo Tensei, obviously separately, not together at once, and then move on to the version that preceded it. That way I can get a lot of the more obvious matchups out of the way quickly, since Itachi doesn't really fare too well against the more powerful versions of Obito. So anyway, now that I've made all of that clear, let's just jump right into the battle and start out with round one, Itachi versus Jubito. Now look, this is just mean, okay? Itachi is hopelessly outmatched against Jubito here, and honestly, I don't even want to talk about this battle because I just feel like a bully. But surprisingly, I found enough instances of some pretty disgusting Itachi wank from people who claim that he can, in fact, beat Jubito throughout my time on the internet to let me know that this actually is an issue worth discussing, apparently. So I guess I'll go over this battle for just a little bit and explain why Itachi has absolutely no chance of victory here. Now, what I'm about to say is pretty obvious. Anybody who spends even a little bit of time dabbling in Naruto versus battles is well aware of this, and that is that in a battle like this, Itachi's greatest asset is the Yata Mirror, right? Like, with it, he can supposedly deflect anything. That's pretty well established throughout the Naruto community. But one thing that isn't quite as well known is the reason why the Yata Mirror is supposedly an impenetrable shield is because it is composed of every nature transformation, and it can adapt to any situation that its wielder finds themselves in by applying the traits of different natures to itself in order to counteract the traits of any physical or spiritual attack it comes into contact with. So basically, it's so strong because it's composed of every nature at once, right? Now, this should sound a little bit familiar to some of you because there's another thing in the Naruto world that is also composed of every nature at once, and that would be the truth-seeking orbs, or the truth-seeking balls, whatever you want to call them, the Gudodama, one of the key parts of Jubito's arsenal, as a matter of fact. And so common sense would dictate that because the Gudodama possess the trait supposedly responsible for the Yata Mirror's impenetrability, Jubito would be able to use the truth-seeking orbs to counteract it, right? So all Jubito would have to do is create a sufficiently powerful attack using his truth-seeking orbs, and logic dictates that he would be able to penetrate Itachi's Yata Mirror this way. But there's a little bit more to the discussion than that as well. See, the truth-seeking orbs, despite being composed of all nature transformations, are not invincible. They can be countered with senjutsu. Now, I'm not saying that this is 100% fact or anything. It's never been confirmed, but it stands to reason that senjutsu would also be capable of dealing with Itachi's Yata Mirror, right? And granted, that doesn't mean that senjutsu attacks automatically obliterate any attacks with composition similar to that of the truth-seeking balls. For instance, using a truth-seeking orb shield, Obito was able to block a senjutsu-enhanced tailed beast bomb along with a senjutsu-enhanced Susanoo arrow at the same time. But if you look closely at the manga panel he does this in, you can see pretty clearly that his shield started to take a little bit of damage. And again, its composition should be identical to that of the Yata Mirror, mirrors, meaning that when put up against Senjutsu, the Yata mirror is not invincible. And since Obito, after becoming the Jinchuriki of the Tin Tails, was given far and away the strongest form of Sage Mode in the entire series, it's very easy to argue that he'd be able to break through Itachi's Yata mirror, either using a Senjutsu attack or using the Truth-Seeking Balls. You can even combine both of these arguments at once, and say that not only is Itachi's Yata mirror weak to Senjutsu, it's also susceptible to damage from the Truth-Seeking Balls, as they're both composed of the same thing, and Jubito is obviously way stronger than Itachi is, so he shouldn't have too much trouble breaking through what should otherwise be a pretty standard shield. And that's it. That's really all Itachi has is the Yata mirror, so doesn't really look like he's gonna be able to do anything to Jubito. Yeah, he has the Totsuka blade, which he can use for an insta-kill here, but it's so fucking what? If Obito fires a Jubi blast at Itachi, you think he's just gonna survive that? Absolutely not. And his Edo Tensei regeneration powers aren't even a factor in this battle because the Truth-Seeking Balls nullify those. So living or dead, Itachi gets washed. Now, even if he can't break through the Yata mirror, it's not like the thing is omnidirectional. So if Obito goes with 4 Crimson Ray formation Biju Bomb, the attack that he used to nearly single-handedly wipe out the entirety of the allied shinobi forces, Itachi's fucked. End of story. Obito takes this round negative difficulty. So next up, we have White Mask Obito with the Rinnegan, the Mangekyo Sharingan, and 6 Jinchuriki at his disposal that he can transform into tailed beasts at will. And now, look, this is also a pretty horrific mismatch in Obito's favor. Alright, you've got Itachi, who already has some pretty bad stamina issues, going up against this guy who has the Rinnegan, the ability to phase through any attack, and 6 tailed beasts at his disposal at full power, all of whom he shares vision with. So there's no fucking way Itachi's gonna catch Obito lacking in this battle, because his field of vision is practically infinite here. He can phase through attacks, as I've already said. The only reason he took any damage at all in the fight against Naruto B, Kakashi, and Guy is because Kakashi was there and he was able to counter Obito's Kamui with his own Kamui. Of course, Itachi does not have that luxury. He's stuck with plain old Amaterasu and Tsukuyomi. And look, Obito's not stupid. He's not a complete fucking buffoon. He knows better than to look Itachi in the eye. Like, come on, Tsukuyomi, it's not landing on Obito. And even if it does, the series has made it clear that it can be broken out of by a fellow Uchiha. By an Uchiha much less experienced with Genjutsu than Obito, as a matter of fact. Sasuke. Now, you can make the argument that Itachi let Sasuke break out of Tsukuyomi during their fight, which is perfectly reasonable, but Itachi's also flat out said that the only way to counter Tsukuyomi is with another Mangekyo Sharingan, so I don't think I'm making a humongous logical leap by saying that Obito would be able to resist it even if he was caught in it. But again, that's a big if, because he'll probably just avoid looking Itachi in the eye for the entire fight in order to avoid having to deal with Tsukuyomi in the first place. Now, another pretty cool part of Itachi's arsenal that you might think is pretty bad news for Obito is Ephemeral, the finger genjutsu that he cast on Naruto, but this is a complete non-issue. A lot of people bring this up and act as though it makes Itachi some untouchable god, because it can affect people with genjutsu without even looking at them. But look, Naruto, who has no genjutsu talent whatsoever, was able to break out of it after a bit of struggling, of course, but he was still able to break free, and Obito is no genjutsu slouch. Like, his skill with genjutsu is fucking light years ahead of Naruto's. There aren't a whole lot of genjutsu feats for him in the manga, but one that's pretty big is the fact that he was able to mind control Yagura, a perfect Jinchuriki, using genjutsu, and B was like fucking flat out convinced that genjutsu could not affect Jinchuriki at all. So I don't know, man. Obito seems pretty good on the genjutsu front to me. I'm pretty sure Itachi's not getting him with Ephemeral or Tsukuyomi, so let's take those off the table. At the very least, they're not going to wipe Obito out immediately, right? I think that's fair. So ninjutsu's completely worthless against him because not only can he phase through it, but he can also presumably absorb it. Now, Obito never used the abilities of the Rinnegan, but he made it pretty clear that he still can. Kakashi was like, he's probably not doing it because we already know how to counter them because we fought Pain and, you know, take up a whole lot of chakra. And Obito was like, precisely, that is exactly why why, Kakashi. Good on you. You're quite observant. And taijutsu is also a pretty horrible idea because, again, Obito can phase through any of Itachi's attacks, and up close, like, rest in peace if you're fighting against this dude in close quarters combat. Obito can either suck Itachi into the Kamui dimension and just leave him there forever, or he can use the human path of the Rinnegan to rip out Itachi's soul. And that's without even mentioning the fact that there are 6 fucking Biju running around the battlefield for Itachi to deal with at the same time. Like, it's just not fair to him at all here. Once again, he gets thoroughly stomped, so round 2 goes to Obito. Round 3 would be Rinnegan Obito without his mask and without control of the tailed beasts after the reanimation jutsu was released by Kabuto. And I mean, like, just because he doesn't have the Biju doesn't mean Itachi suddenly gets the win here. Obito can still phase through all of Itachi's attacks, absorb, like, every single one of the points that I brought up previously applies here. Obito just can't apply the added pressure that he could with a Biju in this fight. He can still close in on Itachi, suck him into Kamui forever, or rip out his soul, and GG. So round 3 also goes to Obito. Now, whether Itachi is Edo or alive doesn't really matter in these first 3 scenarios, because no matter what, he gets stomped. In Jubito's case, the truth-seeking balls nullify Itachi's regen, and in Rinnegan Obito's case, the fact that he can just rip Itachi's soul out is pretty bad news for the guy as well, since Impure World reincarnation fundamentally functions by trapping a person's soul inside of another person's body. So, I mean, it's common sense that having the soul ripped out would undo the jutsu. Yeah, you get the idea. But now, these next few fights, that's where things start to get interesting. So, Itachi versus Dual Mangekyo Sharingan Obito, or DMS Obito, as many people call him. This is a much more interesting battle than the last 2, because the 2 of them are now on a much more even playing field. Now, this isn't DMS Obito with his 6 paths chakra, and I'm just going to assume that he can't use his perfect Susanoo here, because if he could, Itachi would get shit on in seconds, and I really don't want another round of that happening. So let's just assume it's Obito with the ability to use Kamui from both eyes. He has full stamina, unlike the DMS Obito that we saw in the anime and the manga, but he just doesn't have access to his 6 paths powers or to the Rinnegan abilities that he had in the previous 2 fights. Now, this is a bit weird, because the long-range Kamui that Kakashi has access to, it shouldn't be dismissed in this fight, because it was able to affect the truth-seeking orbs on multiple occasions. Kakashi was able to teleport some of Madara's shield away in order to give Guy an opening to damage him, and he was also able to outright teleport some of the orbs while they were moving. And now, I mentioned earlier in the video that the Yata Mirror's composition is very similar to that of the truth-seeking balls, so it might be possible for Obito to Kamui a hole through the Yata Mirror and fire some jutsu through it from a range. Now, here's the thing. Up against this Obito, I don't think Itachi is going to rely on his full-body Susanoo too heavily, because of how I assume it reduces his mobility. Itachi's never shown the ability to manifest legs from his Susanoo, and obviously having to worry about this gigantic ethereal exoskeleton makes it difficult to be nimble and agile. Now, maybe his full-body Susanoo doesn't hinder how much he can move, I'm not sure, but considering he wasn't constantly using it after being revived with Edo Tensei, I think that it's not too far-fetched. So assuming Itachi doesn't use his Susanoo, this would actually be a pretty cool fight to look at, but he wouldn't really be able to do much to Obito since Kamui sort of counters everything. And with the long-range Kamui that Kakashi uses added to his arsenal, Obito would be able to pretty easily snipe Itachi's head off, and Itachi, aware of this, would likely know that it's probably time to throw up his Susanoo to keep Obito from Kamuiing off any body parts. At that point, I imagine Obito just charging forward, phasing through the Yata Mirror, and sucking Itachi into the Kamui dimension. And that would be it for living Itachi, but Edo Itachi would sort of remain there forever. So he wouldn't win by killing Itachi, but it would count as a BFR, or battlefield removal. So he has a bit more trouble against Itachi here in this scenario, but I'm still gonna give the
Man is in the building. So Ice Entertainment, they told me on the track. When we come to the club, we got the choppers on deck and the yappers on deck.
Is you rolling? Is you rolling? Is you rolling? Is you rolling?
I might be. I might be. I might be. I might be.
Girl, he geeked up. Girl, he geeked up. Girl, he geeked up. Girl, he geeked up.
I might be. I might be. I might be. I might be. Yeah, I'm slow, man, that's where I come from. Pass that bubble twist and put this bean on your tongue. Now everything was gravy till your bitch came in. About the same time that thing kicked in. Now she ain't really pretty, but she got a nice body.
Live TV from 85 plus channels with local sports and news. YouTube TV. Try it free.
I didn't realize how many mistakes I was making in English until I started to use Grammarly.
It's like having a proofreader and an English teacher right there.
Speaking English is way easier to me than writing it. Grammarly gives me confidence.
In Spanish, the way you say the word
unsavory characters settling in the...
During the writing of the Monas Hieroglyphica, to stumble across a book that describes in code how you contact angels. So he tried this out with the aid of a scrying stone. You know, scrying stone is just your normal crystal ball, except here's his collection of scrying stones. This is the crystal ball. Now, this crystal ball was apparently, according to several sources, given to him by we tried it first on this book. Onto this and said, okay, if you can see things, that means we can really talk to the angels. And there began 8 years of almost daily conversation looking for proof of higher intelligence. Then these 8 years worth of angelic sessions are the ultimate. Because in those sessions, the angels delivered a language that seems to be directly coded to our DNA, a language of light, as well as higher dimensional geometries that have only been mathematically described in the last 50 years. Now, if you look through all the literature of psychicism, all the UFO literature, etc., only rarely do you find anything that approaches top of that very short list is D.N. Kelly's angelic session. Now, the angels gave D.N. Kelly several fairly accurate prophecies and sent them off to Europe to spread the good word that the end of the world was just around the corner. So off they go to Europe, and they get lots of Poland, although D.N. with lots of Kabbalistic manuscripts and books. And they arrived in Prague, and Rudolph was overjoyed to see the mysterious book in the mysterious language that no one could read with all the strange pictures. And he was really intrigued by the idea that they might actually have the fabled powder of projection. Stop there and explain just a bit more about physical alchemy. Now, if you look at the similarity in atomic structure between mercury and gold,
Vids Entertainment. They told me on the track. When we come to the club, we got the choppers on deck and the yappers on deck.
Is you rolling? Is you rolling? Is you rolling?
Stream live and on-demand TV. Now including these favorites. YouTube TV.
Save big and small at home during the President's Day event. Get top quality pieces for less. Plus, pay no interest for 12 months.
With all my ice on.
Can't say that, girl. Tell me you
very accurate on net play.